Anger's so hard for me. That was the emotion that I felt the strongest when I stopped drinking. I thought like, okay, I stopped drinking, problem solved. Let's have a great life now. And then all of a sudden, I'm so angry all the time, and I didn't even know why. And when you don't know why you're angry, it's really hard to work through it. So I would say the first step is to do some self-discovery and like kind of understand what's going on in your head. And time, unfortunately, no one likes that one. But what helped me a lot too is learning how to like release anger in a good way. Often, like we have a feeling that we deem as bad. This is a bad way to feel. I shouldn't feel angry. This is wrong. And we try to stuff it down and make it go away. And that just makes it boil over and come back even stronger. But if you can learn to release anger or release anxiety or like whatever feeling you have, it actually goes away and you learn to deal with it. So I learned like for anger specifically, it's such a high energy emotion. Like when you're angry, you're like buzzing, like you can't sit still. So do something with that. If you're very energetic and you can't sit still, that's when you do the things like go on a walk, go on a run, like call someone and vent like crazy, like as fast as you can talk, go to the gym. And like I've set so many PRs at the gym from just being insanely angry.
Oh my gosh. No, it like makes sense. It's like taking that and reframing it and like claiming it as something productive rather than giving the power away to the emotion. And it's like there's such a duality to that because like you do have to give the power to the emotion at the same time in order to feel it. You kind of have to give it over. I don't know the study exactly, but there was like a study out there. I'll try to do my sources and put it in the notes for anybody to read, but that like feelings when they're absolutely felt only last about 90 seconds. That's like the course that it runs through in your brain. But where we get stuck is like analyzing our feelings or shutting our feelings. And that prolongs that anger, that grief, that resentment, that jealousy. So feeling it in its entirety for as long as you can muster will allow it to run its course more. And I think that goes into exactly what you're saying. Like take it, feel it, funnel it into a creative endeavor, funnel it into exercise, funnel it into blasting off an email, like funnel it and let it be its full power. Since you've kind of learned these tools and learned and are practicing how to funnel or how to reframe, what's been like the biggest change that you've seen in your life so far?
I'm really calm. Before, I was offended all the time. Everyone was out to get me. I always had bad luck. Things never went my way. I could go on and on with all variations of that same thing.
Totally.
I felt overwhelmed every moment of the day, basically, which makes you choose unhealthy things like alcohol and food or yelling at people to cope with the overwhelm. But since I've learned to reframe and to release feelings instead of stuffing them down, I'm calm. I get over things quicker. I still have like really big feelings. Things still do really, really upset me and like just drive me crazy and I get very overwhelmed. I still have those experiences, but using these tools that we're talking about allows them to fade away faster. Like I like to look at everything kind of scientifically and take my worth and like morality out of it and just look at it as like a thing. It's like a case study. And that's how I look at my life. It's just a case study. It's an example. There's no morality to it. And when I look at my past, when I've had a very similar trigger get activated and I drank to cope with it, it took weeks. I lived with that overwhelm and the anger and feeling upset about whatever the thing happened for weeks. Every day, all day for weeks. It consumed my life, and I would just get drunk every day to try to deal with it. And then it would continue to consume my life. And in sobriety, I've had like basically the same trigger that I had when I was drinking. And I don't drink. And then I do other stuff, like the stuff that makes us roll our eyes. And
I still feel, like breath work and meditation and going stuff. For a walk.
A walk, like journal, like anything that makes you roll your eyes. If you do that stuff, you'll feel better later. And I've noticed, like, even when I have the biggest trigger ever, I wake up the next day and I'm better. And then I wake up the next day and I'm better. And I still feel upset about it, but it's not consuming my entire life where it did before for just weeks straight. I couldn't even like exist without obsessing over this trigger. And now like I'll get upset about it for a few hours and then I'll be able to reclaim my life again. And it doesn't mean that it went away. It just means that now I have the tools not to let it consume me.
Yes, reclaiming your life. That's such a good way to put it. Because I think like this misconception that I had when I was like, I'm going to get sober, and I tried like, I'm going to do 30 days and then I'd make it to day 2 and I'd be blackout drunk that night, because this weight that we put on the expectation of being sober and not drinking means in my head, and I don't know if anybody else can relate or you can relate to this, I was drinking to numb. So I thought, but that numbness was making me anxious and I was ruining things. And I thought it was because I was blacked out that I was making all these bad decisions. But what I was still wanting was to be numb. So I thought in sobriety, if I wasn't drinking, I'd get this sober numbing. And that is not what happens. That is not what happens. You still feel, you still get triggered. You are not absent from your life. You're more present, which feels really overwhelming at first. And then you learn what you're saying, like your tools and the eye roll tricks of like walking and journaling and figuring it out with patience, kindness, and like stillness almost. But you're never going to be numb again. And that's kind of the most beautiful part of it, because it is like a reclaiming of your life. You do take the power back, but there's a lot of work that comes with that power.